And there she blows, the best theme tune in all of Doctor Who podcasting means it's time for Type 40 Live, your live-streamed Doctor Who show, the live-streamed Doctor Who magazine show, materialising here on YouTube, Rumble and Facebook. Whichever platform, time stream or time zone you're joining us from, welcome. Yes, this is Type 40 Live, up on your screen in real time with a show to defy your senses, confound and compel, and all manner of things in between. As always, in front of a live chat full of friends, fans and companions just like you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is where we talk about the world's longest running, best loved sci-fi and fantasy TV series even, and the whole Whoniverse around it, both on and off screen. And of course, in the 60th anniversary year of the series too, we're closing in on that all-important, all-new era for Doctor Who, aren't we? And we're going to be your guides right the way up to those 3 specials and beyond. Stick with us if you dare. Yes, I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks, starting the week here with you, with some stories to get into, some people to bring on, and lots of fun to be had. Yes, why not? Good to see you here. If you are watching on Facebook, of course, in the Type 40 Facebook group, hello everybody there. Remember to hit the little blue link, because then Facebook will tell StreamYard who you are, and StreamYard tells us we all get on first name terms, and nobody gets called Facebook user. I have to abbreviate that to FU, which just sounds completely wrong. Never goes well, that one. So please hit the little blue link and like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz. I'll keep telling you that as the show moves on. Who've we got this time? Okay, yes, I'm happy to say that one of the regulars is here to keep me in line. I think she's had a good day at work. She seems well ventilated. Oh God, I'll just bring on Charlotte Shields.
What? Well ventilated.
Why do I say this stuff? What's wrong with
once
me?
I haven't got a cardigan on.
That's sort of what I meant. I could have worded it better, couldn't I?
You could have, yes. Hello, everybody.
Yes, here we are on a Monday evening here in the usual slot, but different time, because we'd like to confuse people, don't we?
Oh, yeah, but we like to just give more, because Doctor Who is finally waking up and being a bit more of a bigger show, which is what it needs to be.
Is that how it seems to you as well? Gradually, slowly?
Very gradually. I will not lie, it's been like a snail, but it's gradually getting there.
It's still quite quiet in the console room here, have you noticed?
Yes, it's sort of a nice chill console room, isn't it, tonight?
It is. Perfect, I think. And a little bit warming as well. It started to cool down at last after our heat spell last week, so you'll get a little less complaining from us, won't they, Charlotte?
A little.
Just a little bit. Yes, please like the video now, subscribe to the channel. You're going to be having far too much fun later on to remember, aren't you? And hit the cloister bell to get all those notifications about what we're doing next and when we're doing it, when we pull a little surprise on you, or whether we drop an extra video or podcast or another live stream. Stick with us here at Type 40. And I'm happy to say we've got 2 more people to bring on. We have, yes, he was on last week, and he's back again, back already. I'm happy to say for the full show this time, we have the writer, the number 2 in Doctor Who magazine's audio book of that's right, isn't it, Will? That's right. He's the writer of the Resurrection Plant, and he's back on the show again. We've got Will Hadcroft back.
Yay!
Hello, Will.
Hey.
I'm not remotely ventilated, I have to say.
A real man, yes. Real men don't ventilate, do we, Will?
I'm saying nothing, Dan.
So, how have you been? How was the weekend, mate? Good?
It's been all right, yeah. Quiet, yeah.
Nice
nothing,
and quiet.
After the previous weekend, it's a bit of a come down.
I was going to say, I think you needed that, didn't you, Will?
Yeah, a long sleep, yeah.
A long kip. Yeah, so we're not cooking here. Will, have you had any rain up by you yet? Is it getting cooler there?
Yeah, we've had rain. Yeah, it's cooling down. Yeah, we're feeling more human now.
Because when the nights start drawing in and the temperatures get a little cooler, it's I think it brings to mind, doesn't it, memories of watching Doctor Who in the autumn when we were kids. Those of us who were old enough to remember the classic show.
Yeah, those ancient ones. Yeah, September was when it came back, wasn't it? Traditionally, I'm talking 1970s now, guys. It was September through to March. 26 episodes, one half-hour episode a week. So when September rolled up, yeah, knew it was back.
We knew what we were getting and pretty much when we were getting it. God, that sounds awful as well. But you know what I'm saying. And it was like that for a long, long time. We're going to touch on some of that later on in the show. And I've got the perfect person to bring in and on. Is he on? I think he's on. He's definitely in because he's a YouTuber and he's an actor and a singer. But I think if you've been following him, if you're subscribed to his channel, and why wouldn't you? But it's fantastic. AMTV on YouTube. You'll know that what this guy doesn't know about TV isn't worth knowing. I'm happy to say we've got Adam Martin here on Type 40 Live.
Hello, everybody. Good evening.
Yes.
Hello, mate. Great to meet you at last.
I know. Great to meet you guys at last. Thank you so much for having me. I think we're going to have a good show this evening. And in terms of the ventilation situation, I'm not ventilated, but I'm feeling somewhat cool. I've got my jacket on. I'm not overheating. We're all good.
You're looking very 90s there, my friend. You look a lot more ventilated on this picture that I've prepared.
Yes, that was my brother got me that sign, that BBC On Air sign. That was custom made off an Etsy seller for one Christmas. And I loved it so much. One of my other friends who's into photography, I was like, bring your camera, come down here. We're doing a photo shoot. And it's ended up being the photo for the channel.
Impromptu photo shoots. Yeah, it's very nice. I love all the vintage stuff. Do you, Will?
I do. I have to say, Dan, I'm very jealous of that hair. I really am.
Thank you very much. You mean? Well, this is the thing. I suspect, because we've got a lot of people watching on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook at the moment, Adam. And I think that when I announced you like that, and even gave the name of your channel, people might have been sort of scratching their heads and thinking, but as soon as you come on, it's that guy. You have got a very distinctive look, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, it's oddly enough, people always say, like, why do you have your hair like that? Is it to stand out? Is it to be different? But the actual origin of it, we're going back to 2009, 2010. I'm a visually impaired human. I don't have the best eyesight, and my hair naturally, there's no curls or anything. It falls very flat.
Same with mine.
Yeah. So you know what it's like when your hair grows long and it's coming down here in front of you. And I hated it. If it was in front of my eyes, it messed with my vision. And as you do when you're 13, 14, you get your £1 wet look gel out and you try all sorts of horrible combinations that you look back on and you think, why did I ever do that? But then I thought, you know what? I'm sick of it being in my face and I'm just going to stick it up like this. And that's just sort of how it's been ever since. So more out of personal necessity more than trying to be some sort of unique style or anything like that.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is that sort of 90s style top that you're wearing as well? It looks like sort of a shell suit top from maybe the mid 90s.
Yeah, I think I got this at just a Kilo shop, second hand. So I'm guessing it's from the 90s. But when I had my hair cut once, I explained to it. That's always fun as well. Hairdressers. Some of them either know exactly what you mean, even when you show them a picture, or some of them stare at you like, you want what? And like one of them was like, oh, right, you want a proper box top, like all one level at the top. And I was like, no. I was like, I can't pull that look off. I was like, just cut my hair shorter. I'll do the rest. But the sad thing is, back when I first started doing it, everyone would be like, oh, you look like Jedward, because they were
Yes,
I know they were in the zeitgeist at the time. But the weird thing is now, one of my side jobs I do when I'm not acting is teaching acting to children, and they don't know who Jedward are, so that's now moved out of the zeitgeist. So to them it's somewhat acceptable and cool, but in my generation it was like, nah, you're just trying to be like Jedward. And I was like, I'm really not, guys. That's not what I'm going for.
Kids who don't know who Jedward are, Charlotte, maybe 2023 is not that bad after all.
Yeah, I can say that's like a blessing, I think.
Good sign.
So how long have you been on YouTube then, Adam? I gather it's quite a while.
Yes, I last September actually. Well, actually, I'm coming up to the 11th anniversary of the channel, so I've been on since 2012. Wow. And I think, like a lot of us, when we start, I didn't start to think I was 16 at the time, and I didn't think, oh, I'm going to make a consistent channel. I'm going to build an audience. I just liked filming things on my phone and uploading them to YouTube. I mean, my earliest videos were just collection videos, like, oh, here's my Doctor Who DVDs, and you go through all the mistakes. I'm filming on a bad quality phone, the flashlight's on, there's a reflection everywhere, the audio is terrible, There's no emphasis, but we all make these mistakes. I think if you start like that, and it was only about 2018, 2019 when I sort of started thinking, okay, like I could make this like still a hobby, but something I do more consistently. And then the pandemic happened, and I lost, as a lot of people in the field did, I lost an acting job. I was due to be the lead in a brand new musical that was going to tour around Yorkshire and hopefully further. We were 2 days away from opening night, and that's when the curtain came down, when we all had to lock down. It was such a shame. But, like many actors, I sat at home and thought, what the hell am I going to do? We're stuck inside. And then I thought, right, well, time to pour all my time into this hobby. And I think for about 6 months in lockdown, I was uploading daily, which makes me that makes me horrified now. I couldn't do that now. But, at a time when there was nothing else to do, it was the only thing I could do, and that's what I did. So
to direct the creative energy into something to connect with other human beings. That's what I like best about it. Like reading some people say, oh, people who upload videos don't actually read the comments. I genuinely like going through them to see like people's opinions on what I've talked about, whether they agree, disagree, or sharing their memories and stuff. And it's that real like worldwide perspective as well. Like I've done some videos recently about the history of color TV in different countries, and it's amazing how you'll get someone saying, I'm from, I'm from South Africa, and here's how our country got started, or I'm from Romania. It's like, I just find that fascinating that so many people seemingly dotted around the globe are, as you say, watching and connecting with these videos. It's really humbling. You've really tapped into something there. It really appeals to my sensibilities, partly as a nostalgist, because a lot of this stuff that you talk about, and you uncover, I remember it from back in the day. So I'm thinking, back in the day.
As we say.
And all your stuff like you cover, you don't just cover Doctor Who, you cover now albums and movies and TV and all manner of things.
Yes, all things that I tend to be part of a generation I was never around for, which gets a lot of questioning. It's like, why do you talk about? It's like, what's wrong with your generation? And I'm like, well, where would you like me to begin? But no, I just think, I don't know. I think pop culture, I was sort of not raised on it entirely. I watched stuff of like the early 2000s when I was growing up and stuff. I wasn't like oblivious to any of that. But, my parents listened to a lot of music from the 60s, 70s, 80s. I think through Doctor Who and finding classic Doctor Who, you start learning about other old TV shows from back then. And
I've always said it's like an entry level drug, really, into entertainment across decades. And
yes, if you ask my parents, was it a good thing? They'd be like, well, you got him addicted, but there's worse things he could be addicted to.
I think this will ring a bell with you, won't it, Will?
It will indeed.
Yes, yeah.
We've had several conversations along those lines. And what you were saying there about reaching out and connecting with people and looking at the comments and things like that, we're going to do that just now. We've got people watching us on YouTube, Rumble, and on Facebook and dropping some comments for us. So how about we go and take a look and see what they've got to say? Yeah.
If it was.
Got him.
You're watching Type 40.
Cheers, Doctor.
Apple.
Bless him. Yeah, he's our friend of the show now, friend of the channel.
Oh, of course.
Okay. And we've got lots of friends of the channel here lining up to say greetings and hails, like our good friend Lord Thoth, mod extraordinaire. He says, hail, everyone. Hail, Lord Thoth.
He was first today in the block, so hello, Lord Thoth.
Very much first by quite a way there. Matthew Burrows is in too. Always looks like he's down on the farm, or he's taking a number 2 in a bush somewhere where nobody can find him. Good to see you, Matthew. Hello. Hail and howdy, one and all, from Darren M.
Rocking the Max Headroom picture there.
Yeah. He's that's another distinctive haircut, isn't it, Adam? Yeah. we have we've got Retro Doc Gary Akers talking about the retro.
Hi, Gary.
He's an actual doctor of all things retro.
Hence the name.
In good company. Yeah, definitely in good company. Evening all, says Cyanix. Oh, great to see you, Cy. Colin Archer, Colin, whichever way around he's got it this time. Hey, folks. Hey, Colin.
Hello.
Robert Payne's here too. Oh, we like a bit of Robert, don't we? Will says, "Good evening, people of the universe." That sounds like the master would address.
I was
people.
going to say,
Yeah.
bit of Ainley going on there.
He's not standing on top of a radio telescope at this moment,
Yeah.
is he? with a tape recorder.
Yeah, let us know, Robert. Where exactly are you? We need to account for your movements in case the Doctor comes looking later on. Stephanie Barrett's in, all the way from Hobart in
Hello,
Tasmania.
Stephanie.
Wow.
Lovely stuff. Thumping good tune, says Matthew Pound. It is a thumping good tune. It's the best tune. Yes, we don't make any bones about that. Hello from Hello from Aidan McGear. He's just doing this to keep me on my toes. He's a good guy, really. We've got the chat is jumping. That's a good sign. Tony Elsin. Hi everyone. Hope all is well. Is all well, Will?
Well, I've got these rubbish curtains behind me, but apart from that, yeah.
Oh, they're very, very chic, very chic. Hail to the Queen, says Matthew Pounder.
Hello.
Talking about you. And, oh God, I've started something now. Sorry. Velox, Queen of Ventilation. Stephanie Barrett, of course, she's in, where was it? Stephanie said she was Tasmania, was it?
Yes.
So, yeah.
You had me laugh last week saying 27 degrees was a heat wave. They're scoffing at us, Adam, because we were complaining about the heat.
We're not built for it, the Brits,
We're
are we?
softies, aren't we? Softy Brits.
Absolutely. Yeah. If it gets above 15, that's it. All the complaints start coming out.
Oh, here she is.
Hello, Shah.
Yay. Hey, Adam. And she's doing the old, like that. Yeah, too cool for school. Great hair, says Matthew Pounder. I think, no, he must be talking. I think he's talking about you, Adam. Yeah,
I assume he's talking about all of us. There's no specificity there.
No, we can all take that. Will we can all take that?
Well, I do have eyebrows, so yeah.
We've got Robert Payne asks: is Adam sitting upside down, or is that the product? There we are.
The key there is, Robert. That I've always been curious of doing that. If I had the leg strength, I'd definitely go upside down and try it. But no, it's no. Billy
never say never. Yeah, I don't know who Billy Duffy is. Do you know, Charlotte?
No.
I'm gonna do a quick Google now. Just
that's it. Tap it in, see if we can find out who it is. Hair enough. We've got lots of hair puns here. Lots of them.
Being around you, Dan, this chat, you've like infected them with puns.
Yeah. There'll be a dad joke or two later on. I can pretty much guarantee it. I am unfortunately not like that. Most of my hair barely even reaches anywhere near my temples, says Aidan. Well, these are, we've all got a cross to bear, haven't we, Aidan? You're safe here. You can vent all you like. Good evening, everyone, says John over at daleks6388. Again, friend of the show, John. Hope you're well, mate. I hope you've recovered from the heat as well. Oh, yeah, we're gonna be talking about that all week. An instant classic, says Gary Akers, when Sarah met up with Paul McGann there. That was fantastic, wasn't it? Rebecca Pythian. Hello, Rebecca says, I'm watching from Manchester. Hey, gang.
Hello. So Rebecca is my other half. So hello, Becca. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, Becca's
other half.
Yes, and Rebecca, it's, to be honest, it was a good, some people have like really gone off the mark. It's Rebecca Fithian.
Oh, that's how you pronounce it. Fithian.
Yeah. Don't worry. Pythian is on like the upper echelons of like absolute good attempts. I have heard it butchered worse than that. Trust me. So don't worry.
Cool, though. Rebecca Pythian. Yeah.
Whoa, poor Adam from the Geeks handbag here. We've confused the little darling. Live on all this. We've only done it to confuse you, Adam, but we're glad you could make it anyway. Good to see you, buddy. They always forget the cameraman. Yes, the clip, of course, was shot. The clip with Sarah there was shot by the lovely Shah, the keen Shah. She was quick on the draw there with her iPhone. Good stuff. Evening all, says Simon Ashley.
Hello, Simon.
Good to have you here. Mark Kennedy's in too. Good evening. Sitting here in Bolton, just a few miles away from you, Will.
Indeed, this is my son-in-law who accompanied me to Derby.
Hello, Mark.
It's a proper like family and friends affair tonight. That's lovely in the chat.
It's
remember Dan? Remember Dan? You met him, and I said he tunes in every Thursday.
Yes, good to see you, Mark. Happy to have you aboard,
so he's
mate.
here on Monday as well.
Somebody else who we
Found
bumped
us.
into at Hooverville in Derby was Scott Goodman here, who says, "Evening, all. Great to see you, Scott. Good man, good man." And your other half, Adam, says, "I'm impressed. I've had Rebecca Fridge before."
She has. I'm not sure how you get Fridge from the way that is spelled,
Yeah,
but it's
there's
happened.
no F.
There's no there's no F.
Yeah, Rebecca Fridge.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure we can even come close to topping that one. So yeah, keep the comments coming as always, and let us know what you're eating, what the weather's like, all that sort of stuff that we love here at Type 40. And we'll get round to some Doctor Who talk in due course. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. No, don't listen to me. Listen to these guys. They're scarier.
Click the buttons. Like and subscribe. Click the buttons. Click the buttons. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Don't they go on those lads? Bloody hell. Anyway. What is trending? What's been trending over the last 72 to 96? Whenever we were last in touch, what's going on out there in the Whoniverse? That's what we all need to know, isn't it, Will? Are you waiting with bated breath, mate?
Well, I'm waiting.
Well,
I'm not sure about bated breath. That kind of went a few months back.
Well, I can tell you that Doctor Who luminaries are all over the place, including the past and future companion, Bonnie Langford. She was on one of those Sunday brunch shows over the weekend there, fully loaded with 2 mugs full of whatever that was. Personally, I think there was probody a bit of gin in there, Charlotte. What do you reckon?
To get through one of those shows, yes. I think
As a viewer.
But the impish Bonnie Langford, you see her next to just an average size knife and fork, and then you really realise how wee Bonnie is, don't you? It's lovely stuff. But what about that smile, Adam? Do you like a bit of Bonnie Langford?
Bonnie Langford's. I've always liked Bonnie Langford as Mel, because when I first got into Classic Who after the first series of the revival in 2005, as fandom was and is, there was always like a general consensus of like each companion, and it shocked me that at that time Mel wasn't really looked on with like much love, really, to be honest, and that made me very sad because I quite liked Mel, and I still like. I'm so glad I feel Mel and Bonnie Langford have had like a reappraisal in the last like 18 years. I think there's a lot more love for her now, and I think that's well deserved.
So do I. Where do you stand on Mel, Will? Because it was a contentious bit of casting, wasn't it, back in the day? Yeah. But she's such a lovely woman, Bonnie Langford.
Yeah, I think, I know that when she joined it, I was 16, and I can remember Perry going and being gutted that Perry was going. And then when they announced that Bonnie Langford would replace her, my instant reaction was Bonnie Langford. because what the younger folks might not appreciate or even know is that she was very much a light entertainment singing and dancing kind of star. She was on variety shows. She'd been a child actor, played Violet Elizabeth in Just William, and was really good at being very annoying as this horrible little girl. And that's what my generation kind of remembered her for in terms of acting. And then she went on into light entertainment. She was very often on television with another young performer called Lena Zavaroni, and singing and dancing, and this squeaky voice and this bubbly personality. So I couldn't envisage her playing a serious part, and I certainly couldn't see her as the Doctor's new companion. But she did grow on me. Once the Vervoid story started, I could see that she was a good companion, maybe a little too, what's the phrase? And Bonnie has used this phrase. She
was very earnest as a character.
That's it. That's the phrase. Earnest.
On the page she was, but I thought Bonnie. To be honest, I don't think she was ever any better than she was in Terror of the Vervoids. But that was not on her. That was on the people who were. That was on the writers, I think. But I mean, look at that face. Yeah. I can't wait to see her back in this role, Charlotte. I mean, how do you feel about this?
No, I sort of. I liked, because I'm somebody who quite likes Sylvester as a Doctor, So I'm not so willing to sort of knock his era as much as I know what Adam was saying about fandom sort of thought and stuff like that. So I just thought personally for me, I think it was just a bit of a bad pick of actors and when it came to chemistry, because for me there wasn't as much, no fault of either her or her doctor. You just sometimes you get two actors that just for some people don't mesh well, and for me it was just a mixture of not having the right chemistry. And I think at that point they really didn't know how to write companions. It felt like until Ace, it was like Ace suddenly was the revelation, and before that they were really struggling. It felt like
threw them all in at the deep end, really, a lot of the time. I mean, particularly when she was paired with Sylvester, because the guy, he was cast 1 week. I think he was sort of recording the show 3 weeks later. But I just like to see people happy. Bonnie Langford's got a great smile. And it looks like she was having a scream filming series 14. Well, I think she's in the 2-part finale. We're not quite sure, but yeah, she'll be there. Of course, she will. Somebody who may be on screen in the not too distant future. I don't know where you wonder where you're going to sit on this one, Adam, because obviously we don't know, do we, at the moment, who is going to be in these 3 specials that are coming up later in the year. They're keeping so tight-lipped. David Tennant did say there are other people in this, but they're not allowed to say, and you don't know who they are. So Tennant has tipped us the nod that it's not just him.
Yeah, I mean, when they announced in the trailer with like Neil Patrick Harris and stuff, obviously that got a lot of people excited as well with having an actor on board. But yeah, I'm really curious as to like the other guest stars, if you like, of the special, just who that's going to be. I mean, I know there's rumors currently floating at the minute for like one of Ncuti's series, but yeah, I don't know who I'd want. Part of me thinks like the whole speculation game, I used to be really into that with each series. It's like, right, who's it gonna be? But then when we got to Jodie's time, I just sort of naturally stopped doing that. And then I enjoyed like the surprise more when I was like, oh, it's so-and-so in Doctor. Like, if they didn't announce
that instinct can sort of burn itself out, can't it?
Yeah, sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with speculating at all. I'm not knocking it. It is great fun, but I think I've just come to a point where I feel, for me personally, I just prefer to let it, for 9 times out of 10, let it be a complete surprise and let myself be surprised. So, yeah, I wonder who we're going to get.
I'm very much with that. But I do know that, Charlotte, I don't think I'm going to get any arguments from you on this. There is one particular actor that we've been sort of circling, haven't we? And watching his every movement for well over a year now, as to wondering whether he's going to be there when it comes to those 3 specials. Who am I talking about?
It might be a certain Doctor.
It is. It's your favourite Doctor, isn't it? It's Mr. Matt Smith, who at the moment is doing very well in House of the Dragon. I do wish they'd hurry up and finish that 2nd season. That was my favourite TV show last year. He has, this very day, he has been out and about again, though. This was him, and he caught up with somebody in particular. You're going to like this, Charlotte. Here he is snapped with the lovely Jenna Coleman. They just happened. Isn't that gorgeous? They were reunited today, this afternoon, at the BGC Charity Day, where a lot of celebrities and sports personalities get together and all help out at this charity. I think they take phone calls and all manner of things. And there they are, giving each other a lovely big hug and posing for the cameras there. I haven't seen them together in a long, long time, so I just think that's lovely. And he has got very, very doctorish hair again, so that always goes down well. What do you think? What do you think about this?
Well, you can just see the utter, how they adore each other in that photo. Like, you can't fake that emotion. It's so lovely and genuine. And whenever I see that with any of his, whether it's Karen or Arthur or any of his sort of companions, he always gets this. He gives them a massive hug. He gets really affectionate with them. But to be fair, considering I couldn't stand Clara in bits in Capaldi, I actually didn't mind her as much with Matt, because for me, the whole dynamic was a bit of a nicer dynamic on screen. This sort of, she was a mystery, he was trying to work her out a bit, and she was trying to sort of understand him. So it was a nice process of 2 characters sort of circling each other in a nice way and trying to work
I
each
love
other
them
out.
together. I really do. So what do you think, Adam? What do you think the chances of Matt Smith being involved in these specials are?
I mean, it's like you said, it's something that I think a lot of fans want to say. I mean, it's with any Doctor, isn't it? After a period of time, we all want them to come back to the show in like even when Chris Eccleston was announced to do Big Finish, that alone got so many people so excited. So, and with Matt Smith, I mean, he always talks about his love for the show, doesn't he? He's never decried it or anything. Any chance he's asked, he says how much he loved the part and how much he likes going to the conventions and stuff. And I think he said somewhere that he'd be up for it, didn't he? Somewhere along the line.
He said it a few times. I think whenever he's asked, he's always like, "Yeah, of course."
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like the fan brain in me would be like, "Oh, wouldn't it be so good to have all?" I think the theory, all the modern Doctors at least. But that's very, very wishful thinking. But even if it was just Matt that appeared, that'd be a nice welcome surprise because my relationship with the Matt Smith era is a bit of a weird one because when it started, I was 14 at the time, and I think at that point,
all right, don't rub it in.
Sorry, everybody. Important for the story. I'm not trying to make any.
Go on.
But at that time, I think as you do as a teen, a lot of things are changing in your life, and you're experiencing this, that, and the other thing. And I think at that time, Doctor Who for me, I still watched it every week without fail, but I struggled to connect with the Matt Smith era like stories as well as I did with, say, Chris Eccleston and David Tennant when I was like, 9, 10, 11, 12. That doesn't mean I don't like the Matt Smith era. Far from it. I think there's some great standout episodes in there. But I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Ever since as a teen, I found it a bit difficult to sort of find that same connection as I did with the previous eras. But then,
Adam, can I ask you something? Was it almost the fairy tale thing because of the age? It didn't click with you?
I think so. I appreciated the whole fairy tale aspect. And of course, Doctor Who is very much a fairy tale when you're like, in some aspects. But yeah, I think for me at the time, it was like, that's not what I personally maybe wanted from the show. Whereas when Capaldi took over, I'd literally just gone to university, 18 years old. And I don't know, I think that darker, like rough around the edges was subconsciously what I wanted at that time. I wanted something with a bit more scuff on the edges. So that's why Series 8 is still my favorite New Who series, because at the time, on those episodes, every week I felt like I was being blown away all over again. I was like, oh my God, like I didn't know the show could be like this. So
epic.
Yeah, I think you're right, Charlotte, in the sense of the fairy tale aspect. I think just at that time, that wasn't what I was connecting with. But that doesn't mean it's a bad era or any of the actors were bad or anything like that.
I didn't. Sorry, Dan. I didn't really like that fairy tale aspect at all. It had often been said over the years in the classic series, in Doctor Who magazine and other things, that Doctor Who's like a fairy tale, a science fiction fairy tale, and the sonic screwdriver is like a magic wand, and the TARDIS is like the wardrobe in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I didn't mind that being said as like sort of in a metaphorical way. But to literally present the screwdriver as a wand and the TARDIS as a magic box, rather than something that's a product of high science, it's higher dimensions. It's not a magic box that's bigger on the inside than the outside, to me anyway. So it really irritated me that they were really presenting it in a very literal way. This is magical. And even the background music, Murray Gold's music went very Disney-ish, didn't it?
I suppose it's fine when you see it through the eyes of a child or through a primitive society or something like that to tap into that. But I think you're right. It is always wise to sort of to go back to that place that science made this miraculous contraption happen. Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying.
When they say it's like, sorry again, Dan. It's a mixture of H.G. Wells. It's C.S. Lewis. It's Father Christmas. I feel that the emphasis went right towards the C.S. Lewis and Father Christmas side of it.
With Moffat's
with hardly any H.G. Wells at all. I would prefer it to be more of an even
See, for me, I understand it was very like imaginary friend, sort of the music. But for me, Matt was actually the grounding thing that that worked for me, because he was the older man in the young man's body. So I think
I loved all that.
While you had all that fairy tale and Amy sort of things going on, to have such this wise soul in the center for me was the thing that always I thought, God, that I love that contrast actually of having that sort of that as to be the Doctor, whereas everything else was a bit more like you said, C.S. Lewis or Disney or those sort of vibes around him.
I liked his first series, his first year. I liked all that. very much.
I haven't watched those episodes in a very, very long time. And when I see pictures like the one we've had up on screen there of Jenna with Matt, it makes me want to go back and rewatch them. Wendy says, "Evening all, this is a lovely picture of Matt and Jenna. Very sweet." And we've got a comment from Lord Thoth, who says, if Matt was going to be involved in the specials, we would have heard. I'm going to respectfully disagree with that. Go on, Charlotte, what do you think?
Well, in the same comment when Tennant was teasing, he very deliberately said, we filmed stuff in studio, not outside filming. Yeah. So it's very...
We don't know that Matt Smith is one of them, but it's, it can only be realistically one of like 3 or 4 people. So if it isn't Matt, it's somebody else, and they haven't told us about them either. So they're very deliberately keeping the identities of those people quiet. I think that's a given, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, and I think as well, I know what the comment implies. Like we're 2 months away from the anniversary. It's like any big thing like that, we'd know about it. But correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but last year with Jodie's finale, Power of the Doctor, obviously we had the moment with the past actors, the whole Guardians of the Edge sort of thing.
Yes.
I don't remember that being like leaked or discussed.
Well, it wasn't generally spoken about it, but we did tell people about the presence of David Bradley, Sylvester McCoy, and Colin Baker several months before here on Type 40 Live, didn't we, Charlotte? Which is why people should like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications. This is one of many exclusives, little peeks that we found out about here on Type 40 Live. We got before everybody else, before anybody was talking about it, and we've got a great track record for getting to that sort of stuff first. Somebody's in it. Is it Matt Smith for definite? He may have been doing something else, but I disagree with you there, Lord Thoth, about that one. I think they're keeping very, very tight-lipped to preserve the occasion. How long they can feasibly or will want to keep it under wraps for, I have no idea. But I think it's to preserve our enjoyment. I get that. I'm quite approving of that, Adam. Jenna sees Peter and Matt all the time, says Matthew Burrow. She's close to them both. It does seem that way. And long may that continue, because the Doctor Who community is one great big family, isn't it? So when we see them getting together again, it's lovely. They don't have to be on screen, do they? We're playing the characters. They don't have to be behind the mic, and we can hear them. It's just nice to see them out and about. We like to know that they're enjoying their lives and having nice things happen to them and enjoying the best of days and the happiest of days, the happiest of birthdays. And just over the weekend too, another thing trending was one very big birthday for one little lady with a very, very big gob. Do you know what I'm talking about, Will?
Do tell me, Dan. Do tell me.
It's the lovely Antipodean explosion that is Janet Fielding.
Dear Janet.
Yeah. She turned 70 over the weekend. I had no idea that she was 70. I think she's looking great for 70. Yeah. And I love Janet Fielding. I think I've never met the woman. I just think she's a scream. Obviously, the proviso is, as always, I don't agree with everything she says. No, I don't. But I absolutely agree with her right to say the stuff that she does. And she was one of the major cultural sort of figures of my childhood growing up in the 80s, Will. She was my favourite companion when I was a child.
She was a big deal, yeah. I remember her coming into it in Logopolis, and I loved all of that, all that stuff with Auntie Vanessa on the roadside, and the Master.
Wonderful.
Great stuff, and a great way to bring somebody new in. And I tape recorded the episodes before I had video. I tape recorded the audio soundtrack. And the scene of her going into the TARDIS from the roadside and then getting stuck in it. Yeah, I used to love all that, playing it back on the audio. And then, of course, when it changes over to Peter, the relationship of all the companions of the Doctor changes with him appearing so much younger. And then when she left in Resurrection of the Daleks, very sad moments.
I was mortified. I was mortified that she didn't get more to do in the story, to tell you the truth. She seemed to spend most of it sort of recovering from a head wound, hiding under a blanket, Charlotte. But I've always really, really loved this character and liked Janet. Whenever I've seen her interviewed, she always just seemed like, I wouldn't say necessarily outspoken back then, but really quite playful. I like the relationship she'd got with her co-stars. But yeah, she played Tegan practically throughout the entirety of the Fifth Doctor's era, all the way through to Resurrection of the Daleks from Logopolis, as you were saying there, Will. And she was this sort of stubborn, blunt, very argumentative character on the outside. But I've always detected that there was more going on underneath the surface of that character, and that Janet very deftly brought them out of the pack when she needed to. And sometimes, even if the script wasn't particularly good, she seemed to manage to dig a little deeper, I think. Where do you sit on Tegan, Adam? Are you a big fan of 80s Who?
Yeah, 80s Who was probably the decade of classic Who I watched the most when I started getting into it. After series 1 of Christopher Eccleston, I went out and bought the Monsters and Villains book, which was like a great totem back in 2005 for a child.
I still got that.
I do too, somewhere. It's all battered and creased, but what I loved about that book was, even though on the front it's all new Who, it obviously had information about the classics as well. And the Five Doctors was the one of the earliest classic Who's I watched, and obviously Tegan was part of that. And I loved, like you said, the feistiness, the playfulness. She didn't always, well, she seldom rarely agreed with the Doctor most of the time, but I like that about her. And then obviously watching more of that era, like Resurrection of the Daleks was one I loved as a kid. Like you said, Will, like Logopolis is a great introduction for her. And I think it's great for classic Who that you have or Who in general, that you have this companion who at first fundamentally, and it sounds odd to say, doesn't want to be there. You know, like she doesn't want any part of it. She just wants to get back to Heathrow. And I know some people, some viewers say that, that's really annoying. They find it really frustrating, but I always found it really engaging, just seeing how she navigated these situations she didn't want to be in. And then you have that beautiful development in season 19. And then, when you think she's left at the end of Time Flight and she actually seems upset about that. And then her coming back. I just think she had a great trajectory through classic Who itself. And
it was. I mean, you wouldn't call it an arc, would you? But the character definitely developed, and they did lots of interesting things with her. I don't know if that was to keep Janet on side, Charlotte, so she didn't get bored. Because I would imagine if she'd have got really, really bored and frustrated, JNT, anybody else, Eric Saywood, any of the script editors, they would have known about it. If Janet was going to give it to them both barrels, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Have you heard her interviewed? Have you seen the kind of stuff that she says, her manner, particularly when she's on the Blu-ray special features and things like that? Bit of a character.
Oh yeah, she's definitely a character, but I am one of those who do struggle with her in classic, because I think for me it's such a fine line, and so many companions it's such this fine line of, if you want them to be a bit argumentative, if you want them to challenge the Doctor, if you want them to be that sort of disruptive presence almost, you have to do it right. And I just feel like at first they went a bit too far into that sort of realm for me. And then they did sort of find their feet with her. But that initial sort of constant like badgering, and that's the thing, I understood wanting to get back home. Like, that's actually quite a relatable thing. And like, she's not a typical companion. She didn't walk into the TARDIS, she literally got kidnapped. So of course she would have that sort of I don't want to be here vibe. But my issue was more, sometimes I felt like she over criticized the Doctor, and she over sort of went in his face a bit too much. So when they started to dial that down a bit, but still obviously have that sort of feistiness, it's like, yep, that works, but they had to dial it down a bit. And then, to be honest, in Power, she really surprised me, because I was sort of a bit nervous about her coming back. And then actually I found that they showed, no, she can actually do that more serious acting. And I liked the fact that she got that moment to sort of say her issues with her Doctor, and then to sort of reestablish their link in that little scene they had together. That was quite nice. Yeah,
that set me off. That did at the time. I know it was complete. Some people have said, oh, they just say Adric's name. They don't actually give the, people who haven't seen it won't know. But for those of us who have, like, something about Peter Davison just saying that one word, as you say, Charlotte, in that scene, in that context, that was a real gut punch.
I think as well, it was her face, and this is more credit to Janet. It was her acting. You could see it was almost the weight had just been lifted from her, like that she'd been carrying for that long, just to have the Doctor go, Braveheart. That's all that he needed. And I think actually the fact that hers was a bit shorter was nicer, because obviously Ace got the longer speech with her Doctor. So it was nice to have that contrast.
I'm happy to say we're about to be joined by another big Tegan fan. You're going to like this. Yeah, we've got a dedicated 80 survivor as well, Adam. This is our friend Simon Horton.
Yay, everybody. Sorry I'm late, but I feel like the great prophet Zarquan. How are we for time?
Boom.
But, yeah, I'm coming in at just the perfect moment to because Tegan, my goodness, Janet Fielding, whoa, she's way up there for me. And I've just been, as I was sort of waiting to come on, I was listening to what everybody was saying about Janet Fielding. It's interesting because she's very much she's very sort of the character and the actress is very much sort of a divisive person, in that the character can be sort of a bit Marmite, a bit.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything that Charlotte said or anything the people in the live chat are saying now.
Absolutely not. It's an abrasive character. It's as simple as that. Look, Tegan is written as an abrasive character. That was the intention, for better or worse. And I can see why some people would grate on them. It doesn't grate on me. I just absolutely love the character. I don't even know why I like the character, because, as I say, really, you should dislike the character because she's so damned abrasive and dislikable. She's irritating. And so why is she loved? Well, the only conclusion I can come to is that it is down to Janet Fielding's performance. Somehow she just imbues that character with so much warmth for all of its abrasiveness. It's almost a comic character that she puts across. Almost, it's that if you'd written funny lines for her, it would have been a comic character. The way she presents it, she's just she is an actress, and as a person, is just so much larger than life. I think that's what she brings to the character, and that's what makes it likable. And just hearing you talking as well a few minutes ago about the end of Resurrection of the Daleks, where she goes. I mean, I know that Janet herself has sort of criticised that and said she feels it sort of undersells a little bit. Can't remember quite what she said, but there was a degree of, I think maybe it wasn't Janet. Somebody certainly sort of said that it needed to have, it was all a bit abrupt and a bit sudden and a bit unbelievable. I actually disagree. I think it's.
I disagree, actually.
Yeah, it's to me, it's perfectly pitched. It fits in with Tegan's character, that it's very knee jerk. It's very, and you see the seeds being sown in that last episode, but it's still a bit of a knee jerk thing. But that's Tegan's character. That's how she was. And I think to have some big protracted departure would have just been too much for her character, because it's not that kind of character. It feels perfectly right. And to me, the genius of it is that last shot when she runs back into the warehouse.
Yeah. After it's gone.
After it's gone. And I honestly have always believed that actually she ran back because on the way out of the warehouse, she changed her mind. Yeah. She realized she dropped the ball. It was the best time of her life. And she ran back, probably in a way hoping that the TARDIS had gone, because that would make the decision for her. But on the other hand, hoping the TARDIS was still there, because I honestly think if it's still been there, she would have just got straight back into it.
Yeah, that's
the heartbreaking part to me. That last shot as she runs back in, it's just, and that's the only time any companion ever does that. We ever see a companion kind of come back again in the hope that maybe the TARDIS is still there, and it's just heartbreaking.
It was a
Absolutely.
spur of the moment decision. I suppose in a similar way to how Rose not taking the Doctor up on his initial offer was. It's a flip on a similar sort of thing. Simon Ashley says here, I love a companion who challenges the Doctor sometimes, Will. That's a good point as well, is that you don't want somebody who's going to be completely compliant and passive the entire time. There's a middle ground.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want him to be. We know he's right about everything, but we don't want him to think he is. We need someone to say, "Hang on a minute," like in is it the Runaway? Not the Runaway Bride. Which, is it the Runaway Bride where Donna?
Yeah,
you've got the arachnoid thing, and Donna says, "You can stop now, Doctor," because he's not had anybody traveling with him for a while. So he's gone a bit kind of Time Lord Victorious and gone a bit kind of, I will stop this and I will wipe them out, and getting a bit sort of Davros like. And she just says, "You can stop now. You've done it. Leave it." And it does. That's certainly the way Russell T Davies writes the character, that he needs a human being with him to keep him in check and remind him of his humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to think so. I mean, I think that obviously we've just been saying, Simon, it was Janet's 70th birthday at the weekend just gone. I was really surprised to learn that she was 70, but then again, I'm always surprised when I hear of any of their birthdays, because to me, they're sort of almost like frozen in time. Even when I see them in the Power of the Doctor or whatever else, I can tell they're visibly older, but to me, they'll always be the characters that they were. It's weird, isn't it?
It's very weird, but I mean the thing is with Janet, she bless her, she's gone through so much. She's had a lot of problems in her life. Janet. And it was interesting that for a while, when she first left the show, I don't know whether anybody else remembers this. Will, you might remember this. When she first left the show, she went sort of AWOL, basically. She disappeared for quite a while. And everybody
a couple of minor parts, weren't there? She was in one episode of Minder, and she did a couple of episodes of a kids' TV show.
She plays a brilliant part in Minder where she basically smokes some funny stuff and gets high, and she does it brilliantly. I remember it. But she definitely she turned her back on Doctor Who for quite a time. And for a while, I don't know whether you remember this, Will. I remember that there was sort of talk about that she was grumpy. She was a grumpy individual. She didn't want to talk about Doctor Who. She didn't like Doctor Who fans. She wanted to turn her back on it. She'd had enough of it. There was a real feeling of kind of animosity from Janet Fielding towards Doctor Who and the fans in particular.
Did she not once famously give a talk at a convention? Which was really scathing of the way the program treats women and various other things. And, you go into an event that celebrates Doctor Who and then give a talk where you attack it. I remember that being quite a high profile thing.
And funnily enough, she's still doing that to this day from the point of view that only last night, funnily enough, I was watching Behind the Sofa on the Mark of the Rani. And Janet Fielding, the Janet Fielding, Sarah Sutton and Peter Davison are on there. And Janet Fielding, of course, as she would do, points out, this is a female director. And immediately Peter Davison sort of chips in and sort of says, I never normally comment when it's a male director. Why are we commenting when it's a female director? And immediately they start banging. It's almost uncomfortable viewing because they immediately start banging heads, as you know they're going to, because they're diametrically opposed on that, it appears. And Janet Fielding is never backward in coming forward when it's talking about female emancipation. And so she's got this sort of feistiness to her that sometimes I think can just be misinterpreted. She's not afraid to call a spade and then hit you around the head with it. And so I think sometimes it can just be misconstrued as actually, I think she's just a bit of a feisty character and God bless her for it. I love her for it.
Glove fit for the role there. Peter Harrington's asking on YouTube, wasn't she in a Hammer House of Horror episode? Maybe that was before.
Yes,
she was.
did.
I believe that was just being aired around the time she got the role in Doctor Who, wasn't it? It was literally her first job. Doctor Who was her second. And she trained initially to be a news reporter. She wanted to work for the ABC and then suddenly decided to come to Britain and be an actress instead. And I think she was trying and going to auditions and things for 3 or 4 years before getting Hammer and then Doctor Who, and then it all sort of happened for her.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was a Hammer House of
but she left acting in the early 90s for a very long time, didn't she? And I think Power of the Doctor was the first time she'd acted on screen, apart from DVD features and things, in a very, very long time. And I thought she did beautifully in that, and it was a thrill to see her back on the TV. Let us know what you think of it all there in the comments section. By all means, your birthday greetings for Janet Fielding, who's just turned 70 this last weekend. Happy birthday, happy 70th birthday, Janet, and many, many happy returns. Everybody's got a favourite companion, I suppose, haven't they? And I think it's when you see them when you're a child and you latch onto them, you either relate to them or you fancy them or both. You know, that's sort of how was it? And I had the hots for Janet Fielder in a pretty major way.
Dan, you had the hots for everybody.
Yeah, I still do. And of course, I'm going to get to relive part of it in the not too distant future when season 20 comes to Blu-ray.
Oh, yeah.
It's out very soon. Do you buy the collection, the Blu-ray collection, Adam?
Yes, I was. It's weird, really. When they first started announcing them, I initially passed on them because at the time, even though it was 2018, I was clearly, as I often am, stuck in the past. I didn't own any sort of Blu-ray player, not even like a PlayStation 3 or 4. So I was like, what? I've spent the last 10 years buying all the DVDs. Why would I do it again? And then I think by the time season 10 came out, which was like one of my favorite seasons, I think looking at all the extras and what people had said about them, I was like, okay, I'd recently got a PlayStation 4. So I was like, right, I can watch it. And I was hooked. I was like, wow, yeah, okay, this is more than just releasing the episodes again. You know, there is a lot to delve into here. And it's also a good space saver for any fan out there who are always running out of space.
I said I'd never buy them again. I bought the DVDs and I bought all the VHS. This is the third dip for me. And when people joke that, well, what about when they do 4K? I'm going to have to draw the line there. But yeah, I did. I passed on these and I got caught up in that whole thing where they'd all sold out and I changed my mind. Yeah. It was a nightmare. Well, it really was. But this is still listed for the 18th of September at present. This is the limited edition packaging edition. There are rumors that it could be bumped by 7 days, but I'm still seeing it listed for the 18th everywhere. So I'm not going to panic just yet, Simon.
No, well, I mean, this is the beauty of these now. They don't really release the dates for them anymore, do they? Very, very wisely. I have to be honest. I'm going to let you into a secret. I've stopped buying them.
Oh,
I know. I've stopped buying them. I've stopped buying the limited edition ones. I'm just waiting now for the standard editions. Because I had so many of those damn boxes just fall apart on me.
You told me a couple of them are gone.
Yeah, I got so fed up with them just falling apart and the backboard just tearing out when the clear plastic insert just falls out. I thought I've had enough of this, and also it's down to the cost. The standard editions come out cheaper, and I can happily wait, which is terrible. I'm sorry, but I'm now waiting.
Does anybody know if the season 17 standard edition is due? Because I never bought it, and then and now
it's not as yet. They haven't done 17, and they haven't done 8. And haven't done 22
because they put those out. They put those standard editions out whenever they get released in standard. They come out 2 by 2, don't they?
Do they?
I think they did it first, didn't they? With like season 12 and 19, they were together, and then I think they're doing it one at a time now, aren't they? I think.
Well, whatever happens, Adam, certainly we're miles behind now. We are quite a long way behind. They've stopped releasing them for that. I can't remember the last time a standard edition was released. It was a while ago. It might even have been season 23. I can't remember. It's a while. So come on, put them out again. I need to
give us more reasons to spend our money, please. We will give you whatever you want.
Are you a completist as well, then, Adam?
For my sins, yes. It's like, you know, I've said it before with not just Doctor Who, with, you know, I'm a big fan of music, like I have vinyl and stuff like that. And I went through a phase of, if there was an artist I really liked, like Queen, for example, you know, I'd get, say, just a Queen record, love that. And then my brain's like, right, now you have to get every single Queen album on vinyl because my mind will not let me rest. I've got a bit better now. But yeah, with Doctor Who, I think now that these box sets are out and they're coming consistently, I'm in a bit of a similar dilemma to yourself, Simon. You know, the whole, do I get the limited edition? Do I opt for the standard? So I think, well, season 20, I did pre-order because that is a, you know, as I said, the 5 Doctors, that was one of my first. So that's a very special season to me. But yeah, down the line, I don't know. I think I'm going to try and go on gut instinct in the future. If I'm like, I have to have that straight away, I'll get it. But if I don't feel that, I'll do my best, because if there's one thing us Doctor Who fans are good at, it's waiting.
We've got a lot of practice at that.
This is very true. I hope that, I hope the whole completion thing, obviously that doesn't always play well with our other halves. So I suppose if you have to dial it back, it's not going to. With was it Rebecca in the live chat earlier on?
Yes, yeah.
Always good to keep her on side, isn't it? There, yes. We've talked about your completist instincts. Where at the moment are your Kenergy levels, Adam? Where would you put them between 1 and 10? Your Kenergy levels?
Oh, solid 9 at the minute. I'm feeling the Kenergy, especially after seeing the Barbie film. My Kenergy level shot through the. Look at that. Well, I mean, I can't pull off that. No way. I don't have that. Don't have that physique. But no, do you know what? I was so surprised by the Barbie movie in general, because when they trailered it, as I think a lot of people did, you know, I thought, okay, we're doing a Barbie film, right? You know, okay, fair. But then the director was Greta Gerwig, who I adore her work. Like, her film Lady Bird is one of my favorite
People keep
films.
telling me I should see that.
Yeah, and it's just, when I saw that name, I was like, okay, this is going to be not what I thought. And when I saw it, I was blown away. I really, really loved the Barbie film, and it helped my Kenergy.
Well, it's certainly, I think this has probably been, for better or worse, film of the year. Certainly populist movie of the year that's created a big impact. And that's, whatever your take on it, it is the film that's had everybody talking. And ironically, I would say that it looks to me, I've not seen it yet, but the star of the biggest film of the year is Ryan Gosling as Ken. And his name has bobbed up all over the weekend again, Simon, in association with Doctor Who, because he's been known for several years. He's said several times that Doctor Who is a major, big favourite TV show of his when he was growing up in Canada, because obviously Doctor Who gets shown there. It's a similar situation to Australia, isn't it? It's just always been on in Canada.
Yeah. It's and America, the USA is also the same. It's always been on pretty much there continuously, I think. He's a good actor. What can you say? You know, he's a good actor.
Drive is awesome.
Drive is a brilliant film, and he's brilliant in it. I can't knock him. He's actually a good character actor in that he can play different parts. And so if this is true that he is going to be in Who, well then, I personally got no problem. Look, I'm even rocking the pink look tonight. I didn't even know we were talking about Barbie. I just dove into it and I wore pink.
Well, the truth of the matter is, yes, it has, and this story's been around before. Ryan Gosling, the fact that he's worked with Ncuti Gatwa. I know Ncuti Gatwa was supposedly got a very small part in Barbie. Adam, you've seen it. Is that true? It's quite a small role.
It's a weird one to say, because obviously in Barbie world, there's, you know, all the men are Kens. So there's a lot of Kens in there. I'd say he's one of the main Kens. You've got Ryan Gosling at like the top of the pyramid. And then he's got, I think there's 3 of them that are like his, you know, just underneath him. And I'd say Ncuti's one of those. He has a fair few lines, few little funny standout moments. Yeah.
So it could be worth going to see. But yeah, it does turn out that over the weekend, these rumours have resurfaced from the fabled TV insiders that all the tabloids always like to talk about. So Ryan Gosling, a 42-year-old actor, working with Ncuti Gatwa, they were on the set of Barbie when he was announced as being the next Doctor Who, and apparently Ryan went to see Ncuti and said, "Oh, Doctor Who, it's the coolest show in the world, and I'm the biggest fan." And they all had a big joke about it. Ncuti spoken about it too. And for a little while after, it was all over the media because Ryan was seen out, wasn't he, in this T-shirt, which is a fan-made shirt. It's not even official merchandise, but he was walking around in this for some time with Ncuti there, with the Doctor Who logo and the TARDIS in the background. Lots and lots of fun, and Ncuti put it up onto social media there. So he even wore it. I understand he wore it to the set when they were making it. Dolls supporting doctors, Yas King, as if I couldn't love him anymore. So all this was really it was just really nice. It's nice to see people who work together, sort of supporting one another. I can feel that. I like that, Charlotte. But obviously, Ryan Gosling is a huge star. He'd poached Matt Smith for that film, hadn't he, 10, 11 years ago? That's why Matt Smith had to shave his head, if you remember, towards the tail end of his era, wasn't it? Because he was doing that movie with Ryan Gosling. So we knew he'd got form for this. But how likely do you think it is really that one of the biggest actors in the world who can pick his roles, how likely do you think it is that he will make time to appear in Doctor Who?
I think this is a load of rubbish, if I'm being honest. I think obviously with the link, we know he knows Ncuti. They seem to be good friends, like you said. We know he's a fan, and I think it's just people putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5. Because for me, he's too much of a current big star. I think for scheduling reasons. And for everything else, it would be manic to get him in, even if it was just for one episode. It'd be nice. Like, I'm not denying that.
Disney have got deep pockets, and maybe if it's something that he really wanted to do, he could negotiate his salary down to make time for something that's been a childhood favourite. Will we do see that, don't we? Where people say, I'll do it for a drink. Go on, just to be in Doctor Who, just to be in Only Fools and Horses, whatever the big, Richard Branson, he really wanted to be in Fools and Horses. Okay, that was just a cameo part rather than an actual part. But we do see this, don't we, where actors will take a nominal fee. What's his name? Guy Pearce in Neighbours just last year is a prime example.
Yeah, I remember it would have been in the 90s, but I can remember watching Coronation Street when I still watched it. And I remember Michael Crawford suddenly walking into the Rover's Return and saying, "Can I have a pint, please, Betty?" And then it moved on to the next scene, and he was never seen again. And it wasn't even announced. That they didn't milk it for all they could that he was going to be there. He just wanted to be in a scene in Coronation Street, so in he walked. And I can remember just laughing. It's Michael Crawford. So people, actors do that. If they're a fan of something and they love it, they don't care about the fee.
He's not short of a few quid, is he? And there are some things that are worth doing. Lord Thoth said he would have to take a massive pay cut. Archie Collins says it would depends on how big a fan he is and how long the strikes last. What do you think about this one, Adam?
Well, with the actor strike over in America, again, being an actor myself, I completely sympathise with the struggles they're having over there. And I mean, when you look at the numbers and stuff of what's being, reportedly asked of by the actors and how much of a relatively small dent that's going to place on the biggest studios in the world, it does baffle me that it's still going on and these studios are trying to throw every compromise they can to, not secede. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Ryan is part of one of those unions. I think a lot of the big actors are, but I don't know about him specifically. But I think if he is to be involved, you'd like to think maybe he's already filmed his bit if he is in it, allegedly. Whereas if, say, he was going to film it now and he is part of the union, then he probably wouldn't take part in that for those reasons. So yeah, but I'm in two minds, like you said, Charlotte. Part of me is like, this is a load of rubbish. Like, as you said, Ryan Gosling, like, come on. But part of me thinks, I don't know, the fact that, you say, him and Ncuti are friends and Russell T Davies. I mean, a lot of the recent showrunners had a knack of getting, maybe not, big American stars, but big stars in their own right. So there's a tiny part of me that's like, I don't know, maybe it could happen. I feel if it is going to happen, Ncuti is the Doctor, in which it will happen.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's possible. People's imaginations have been caught by this. I have to say, if I was forced to choose, I think, like you do, Charlotte, I think it's a load of old bollocks. I think that this story this story started with the fan base around a year ago, maybe longer. Once that T-shirt went out there, people were saying,
that should blew up.
Maybe they'll get it in the show. And fans, it's been bubbling around. People have carried on talking about it. Maybe. Particularly when you see the names, some of the big-ish names, people who are big in the States, like Jonathan Groff is quite a big name, isn't he, in America? He's not really, nobody's really heard of him here, but he's a big name there. The same with, what's the name? Jinx Monsoon, big name in the States, not necessarily here, but internationally, fair. So it's an extension of the same thing. So I don't think that has ever gone away. Like the story about Peter Jackson directing Doctor Who because he wanted to do it, he's a big fan, all that kind of thing. But it never ultimately happened. And I think that all it is that we're inching closer to transmission. Ryan Gosling has been in the biggest film of the year, and Doctor Who fans have started talking about this again, and we know that the tabloids, they get stories from us to sell back to us. So I just think it's that kind of that circle, Simon.
It's like the Chris Marshall thing, isn't it? Before Jodie was announced, it's Chris Marshall is left the Paradise
Death
thing.
in Paradise.
Death in Paradise.
Yeah.
So memorable, I can't remember it.
I think
he'd vanished from that. So then the speculation was he's left that because he's going to be the next Doctor Who.
I think the one thing that makes me think, I must be honest, I'm probably coming down with Charlotte and Dan, and that I don't think it is going to happen. And my main reason for thinking it won't happen is because he is such a huge star, it would just overshadow everybody and everything else in the episode, including Ncuti. I don't know, it just feels... I just feel there are some actors that are just too damn big for Doctor Who. It's not big enough for them, if you know what I mean. And I think Ryan Gosling could be the one. I just think he would overshadow everything in the episode, and I think that they would be reluctant and nervous to put him in the episode as a result, unless it maybe is a walk on. But then, even if it was just a walk on, if it was like we're talking about Michael Crawford walking into a bar. Again, it's just going to take away everything else from the episode. Everything else. The only thing people would remember is Ryan Gosling walking into a bar. And so, again, I think the production team would just be reluctant for an episode to only be remembered for Ryan Gosling walking into a bar. So
yeah, I think it's that level, isn't it? It's like, it couldn't be a cameo. It'd have to be more substantial. But it would only probably be one episode. So it'd have to be enough of a character. And Doctor Who... The side characters can be big and can take a lot of space, but majority of the time they don't, because, like I said, the Doctor should be the star. It should be the Doctor and the companion.
Exactly, and they would not be the stars in that particular episode, and that's a tricky one to navigate through.
Talking about rumours that won't go away, Tony L repeats Hugh Grant is supposed to be in the 3 specials. Ian David Diaz isn't here, but he'd be punching the air with that. That's another one, just won't go away. And Matthew Pounder says, nobody over 40 knows who he is. I'm over 40, Matthew. I know who he is.
What else has he been in besides Barbie?
Well,
I don't know.
He was in The Notebook.
La La Land, the Notebook.
And that's a bit of an older movie
Drive.
now.
Some of the biggest movies of the last 15 years have had this guy. In them. He's done a lot of good movies, some populist films, some that have played well with critics. La La Land won the Oscar, didn't it? I don't know if
La La Land was absolutely huge. So I think a lot of people know him from La La Land, to be honest.
I ran a very long way away from that film when I saw it trailed.
It wasn't to my taste.
So I never saw that either.
Something that was very much to my taste, though, was our time at Hooverville in Derby. When was it? Weekend before last. So, Simon, there we are. Look, there's our coverage. We hit Hooverville at Quad in Derby, and all of our on-the-spot interview footage there. Everything we could squirrel on the day is there in a Type 40 Live special from a week ago now. So you can go and find that on the playlists, as well as our podcast interview with Stephen Hatcher, he's the driving force behind Hooverville. I don't think he'd mind me saying that, but he goes into in great detail how Hooverville started, and we have a good old laugh as well in that. So it's a couple of solid episodes from the Type 40 archives for you to get in on while you wait for the next one when we're
more,
getting
I was
together.
say, there's more to come as well, isn't there, Dan? There is more to come.
Yeah, that was our very first live recorded podcast there with 3 special guests. It's on the way. People have been asking me, when can we hear it? When can we see it? It's on the way. Don't worry about that. It's coming. And in the meantime, get in touch with us through our social media, or you can do it the old-fashioned way on the telephone, Instagram and Twitter at Type 40 Doctor Who. Phone the TARDIS. Yeah, I think that's
very good.
I like that. That's good.
And why is Shaw content to have a photograph taken like that? Why do we make these podcasts and live streams? It's all for the love of Doctor Who. Of course it is. That's what brings us all together time after time to pick our way through the Whoniverse, all these little nuggets, all the big discussions that we have here on Type 40 Live. That's what it's all about. And let us know what you think of it all in the comments section. Do you think that the Ryan Gosling story is a load of old dingo's kidneys, or could there be some truth? Could there be some truth in it after all? As well as your birthday greetings for Janet Field in there and everything else that we've been talking about on this edition of the show. Okay. So what's next? I think we've just have to look at, where are we? At this. Okay, so yes, finally, we've been talking about how we're inching our way to the specials at last, Simon. It does seem to be heating up very, very slowly, and we talked about it last week, how frustrating it is, this really, really long wait. But we've getting so little proof from the BBC of even acknowledgement that something's on the way. But very fortunately for us, the US entertainment magazine, Entertainment Weekly, they've taken pity on us Doctor Who fans, and they've given a full TV preview. So the fall. So they've given a full TV preview here of everything that's coming in the next season, I suppose, in the way the Radio Times used to, so across all channels and streaming platforms. And in there, in the mix, is Doctor Who. And they've got lots of exclusive pictures. Well, I think I say lots. There's about 4 or 5, which at the moment, in the current climate, that's a lot. So we've got all these new pictures to look at. And various sort of statements about, well, look, things don't look good for the Doctor and Donna. Well, would be much of a story if they did. It would be all over, no drama. So it's the usual kind of empty promotional language that we're used to surrounding Doctor Who. But it's just nice to see something new and this big write-up from Entertainment Weekly. David Tennant and Catherine Tate are there, obviously in place for these 3 specials marking the 60th anniversary. And this is very much, particularly when I see pictures like this, Adam, to me, this hammers home the reality that this, at this particular stage in the series history and the franchise's history and legacy, that this is the series, the intellectual property very much going into safe mode to fix the problems that caused the series to break down very obviously to the point of cancellation in 2021, and resetting it for this all new era that's going to begin with Ncuti Gatwa and Miller Gibson at Christmas. We've got this fantastic image here of the 14th Doctor coming out of the TARDIS and some steam and fire. People are saying that could be the previous console room is bursting into flames. The story here, there's something to speculate about. You mentioned speculation earlier on. What do you think about these images, these brand new images from the 60th anniversary specials?
They certainly, like you say about the promotional talk we get for Doctor Who now, it's that great thing of they give you a tantalizing glimpse of what could be, but without actually revealing anything overly concrete. Yeah, and like you're saying, you look at that and it could be that the previous TARDIS console is exploding and bursting into flame as we've become so accustomed to, or as we've seen in some of the trailers in the past, and not just for Doctor Who, like, you know, the big Marvel franchises and stuff, you see more of a practice now of either images or trailers either containing stuff that isn't in the final product, or, you know, editing the image so that what you see in the trailer or the picture isn't actually what's in. I remember with you know, the Avengers films, there was a scene, I think, where they had like the Hulk in one shot, but then he actually wasn't there in the real, and there was a good reason for that, but it would have been a spoiler. So part of me thinks maybe this is just like a placeholder background. Maybe we might already have a new console, and maybe they just don't want us to show the inside. That's my thought with this. It could be what it is there, but part of me thinks maybe it's a little placeholder.
I think you could be right, because now I'm thinking about it, that picture looks like it's taken from the second of the 3 episodes, in which case the TARDIS, you would think, would be sorted out by them. We've seen so little of that second episode, but I think this is a really doctory picture, and it sort of makes me feel like all's right with the world again, Simon. When you look back to when David Tennant first took the role in 2006, it's I mean, you can see how baby-faced he looks. You think David Tennant hasn't aged until you see pictures like this, don't you?
Yeah, bless him. I kind of saw, when I saw that this week, I sort of thought it's a little bit cruel of the BBC, because it really does make David Tennant look old when you put those 2 photos next to each other, whereas prior to that, you kind of think, oh, he's aged well, hasn't he? And to be clear, he hasn't aged badly, but this just very much highlights it's an older man. I mean, I must be honest, that image to me, the new one, looks just like a publicity shot. I honestly don't think that's taken from the episode at all. I don't think that's a production photo. I think it's purely publicity. But I could be wrong. But my personal feeling is, does it excite me? Not in the tiniest bit. I'm sorry to be the voice of doom, but I'm just bored of seeing a photo of a Doctor just kind of leaning out of a TARDIS. There's nothing to get hold of. I've seen 1,000,001 photos like that, especially since the 2005 revival. It's just more of the same. It just leaves me absolutely cold. You know, show me something different. As I think, Charlotte, I think it was you that said on Thursday last week, show me some monsters. Show me something to get excited about. David Tennant leaning out of a TARDIS is not what I'm.
The way I feel about it still, even after all this time, even after nearly a year, is I just find this really reassuring.
Fair enough.
The character is back, and this looks like Doctor Who. He looks in the moment, in the character, whereas obviously the previous incumbent, she couldn't seem to find that character any better than, unless she couldn't find her own arse with both hands. And this is a man who knows the role inside out, has the range to fill it, and in a still image like that, you know, David Tennant on this part, he's up there with, obviously, with Tom Baker and William Hartnell as the icon. Do you see what Simon's saying there, though, Adam? How do you feel about these pictures? Is it a case of a muchness for you?
Yeah, I get what you mean, Simon. Like the whole leaning out of the TARDIS, and I think there's a later one from this set of, or the one you showed earlier, you know, of like Doctor and companion stood next to each other, looking surprised, shocked, whatever. I get what you mean.
Photos before.
Yeah, like that one. Yeah, we've seen something like that in the past a lot of the times, and I get what you're saying. Like, it is very like standard fare now. It doesn't necessarily tell you anything like groundbreakingly new apart from what we already know, but I'm sort of like what you said, Dan, as well, like that certain reassurance of like, okay, like there's the Doctor, there's the TARDIS, there's the companion. Yeah, I agree with you a bit in the sense, was it you that said, Charlotte, about wanting to see more monsters? I think that'd be really cool, because especially since with you'll have to
flavor of it like that.
Yeah, in the first one, the Star Beast, the villains of that. The name escapes me at the minute. If anyone,
Beep the Meep.
No, not Beep the Meep. The ones with the big red eyes.
You mean the Wraith Guards?
Yes, those. Like, we saw them in the trailer fleetingly. So, you know, maybe a full body shot of them, like, you know, in whatever would have been pretty
that
cool
would be really, really cool.
Considering that wouldn't necessarily be a spoiler in the sense that, you know, we already know they're going to be in it. We've seen them in the trailer. So, yeah, maybe a shot like that would have been really cool to see.
Well, we have got this brand new picture. We have got this brand new picture of Beep. This is the best look we've had yet at this character. And to me, I think I said to you last week, Simon, what I'm looking for is similar to what you're talking about, Charlotte, in that I want to see evidence of that increased budget, that increased ambition for the show. And I think with this, I'm getting some of that. But obviously, it's not a monster, is it? I mean, does this go part of the way for you? Because we've seen this before, haven't we?
Yeah, to be fair, like I think we saw enough in that trailer of Beep at the moment, so I don't want to see a lot more because I want to see it in action now because it's physical, because it's actually there. I want to see how they do it because that does intrigue me. No lie, I'm sort of halfway with these photos as well because it's nice to have some more actiony. Sort of actually something's happening because I felt like so much of the trailers so far and things have sort of been these really empty sort of, it's people running around in a street.
And it's been going on since Christmas, isn't it? This is 9.5, 10 months of it.
Yeah, whereas here, there's actually not the right word. It's nice to have some shots to me that have a potential bit of story, a bit of actual...
Yeah.
hint to what the story is. That's the thing I've been moaning about, that all the stuff we have had has just been generic, actiony, exciting. There's danger. It's like, yes, it's Doctor Who. So it's like nice to have a TARDIS possibly malfunctioning on a Doctor and the Doctor maybe being separated from a TARDIS. That's what I want now, to start to have hints to this story, hints to what actually this Doctor's going to have to face. So I'm a bit halfway because they could be better. Like, I agree that having some more creatures, some more that stuff, I think would really be what they need at the moment. But this is a bit better, but it's not quite there yet.
Well, the only other thing I'd sort of throw into that is we've got to keep reminding ourselves this is the 60th anniversary year, and David Mullen says here that the promotion is largely tepid. Those photos are tepid. At best, they're tepid. I mean, to be honest, they look exactly the same as photos we were seeing a year ago. I don't even recognise that they're new photos. I genuinely didn't see those this week. Wow, these are new photos.
Including this one, Neil Patrick Harris as the mystery villain that we all know who it is. This is very similar to other pictures that we've had too, Simon.
We've seen all these so many times before. And as I say, it just doesn't look 60th anniversary to me. It's just more of the same. I'm just craving something that gets me excited for the 60th anniversary year in the way that we have in the past. We've known that it was the anniversary year. This year, it's literally passed us by without. All they've done is put it on the logo. That's it. It's lip service. I'm
still very excited for these specials, but it is testing me now, Will. I must admit. These pics are fantastic, and they do give a certain flavour. But as somebody's just said in the live chat there, I think it was Colin said, we've had 18 months of this. In some respects, he's right. How many more pictures of Neil Patrick Harris having a blast there? It's going to be too much. It does look like fun, but come on, show us something. Charlotte, you're right. Show us something else. Go on. If you can't show us who else, show us something else.
I think. I mean, the thing is, I'm literally at the point by when we actually see Neil Patrick Harris's character, I'm already a bit bored of him, to be honest. I'm hoping he's really good on screen because I am actually just already.
Here's the thing with Neil Patrick Harris's character, which I'm getting frustrated about myself. If he's a toy maker, like we've all guessed, and they've made so many clues, why can't we have either a trailer with his character like doing something fourth wall breaking, or
good idea,
doing something? He's a toy maker. That's his whole point. Or like have a picture where he is almost in like, I don't know if this is in the specials, but for me it'd be a missed opportunity. Have him being like a make-believe world that he's created. Have that as actually some of your promotion. It would be different. It would stand out, and it would actually get us talking.
It all feels like a one-trick pony at the moment. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
People are talking a lot about Disney in the equation. Matthew Burrows says the Disney money did not include the specials. They'd already been filmed. Yes, you're absolutely right. But people are fixating a little too much on Disney. Sony are also in the equation. They've been in there from the get-go. So is Bad Wolf. You know, they're investing a lot into this. So I think you can still see a noticeable upturn. Just if you remember at the end of Power of the Doctor, that the stuff that had been filmed by Chibnall and his crew, when you see the Bad Wolf people take over to recap that regeneration, you can see that they've got more money to put. Just in that one end of scene, you could tell. So, yeah, Disney money isn't in there, but there is money. There is a lot more budget in those 3 specials. What do you think about the campaign so far, Adam? And what sort of anniversary year have you had leading up to this point? Because we're now like 9.5 months in, aren't we? The guys have got a point, haven't they?
Yeah, I know what people are, where they're coming from, saying like, we're in September now. You think we would have had more, whether that's like more, don't we say like more pictures that tell us a bit more, or maybe another trailer, or a whole. I do think some people I've seen on the socials, after the 50th anniversary 10 years ago, and the sheer amount of
huge
extra content we got, as well as the series. I think some people that were hoping for that again, and I sort of felt I didn't think it was going to get to that level where we'd have like several bonus programs about Doctor Who or anything like that. And I know from friends who work in the industry, not necessarily on Doctor Who, but they're saying getting stuff made at the minute, any sort of program has become increasingly difficult this year with all the various real world factors that are playing into it. So I think myself, I've been a bit more lenient towards the whole campaign, but I do, in terms of pictures, like you're right, they could show us more pictures. That's relatively inexpensive. You've got all the footage, you've got it all there in the can. It's up to them what they show us.
Because there must be hundreds of them in a folder somewhere on somebody's MacBook.
Yeah, they'll have it already. I
think what I'm expecting is just feeling of a sense of occasion. There's no sense of occasion with this, none at all. It just feels like business as usual. That's what I'm regretting, not necessarily seeing loads and loads of extra celebratory programs. You're right, Adam. It's never going to happen the same as the 50th, and it shouldn't do. The 50th was a big anniversary. But as I say, just a sense of occasion. That's all I want to feel.
Could it be thinking the way that Russell approached it back the first time round? He always put the emphasis on the general public. And he appreciated that fans had a view and they'd grown up with the old series and they liked what they liked and they had their opinions, but he tended to really promote it to the general public rather than the fans. Is he deliberately holding it back so that there won't be kind of fatigue over hearing about it too much beforehand?
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? Maybe. So he wants to maybe hit us in October or something with some high-profile adverts, and it might be wall-to-wall in a couple of weeks running up to it.
It's a good point. You could be right. Could be.
Possibly. I do think, didn't he say somewhere in an interview that in terms of like the merchandise aspect, that things are coming in this, I don't know if it's this year, but didn't he say somewhere that, with the David Tennant sonic screwdriver was just the beginning or the tip of the iceberg or something?
He did.
Yeah, I know what you were saying though, Simon, about the sense of occasion. Like this is the 60th anniversary, and I do wonder, like as you say, these last 2 months before we get the episodes, if the BBC or the team are going to lean into that a bit more. Because, but then, like you said, Will, I guess would the general public be too phased? It's the 60th anniversary. Maybe they will. They tuned in the past, like with the 10th, 20th, 50th. Anytime the BBC, made the effort to mention that, it seemed to attract a bit more viewership or at least a bit more interest. It's this big anniversary and David Tennant's coming back. So yeah, I'm with you, Simon, that I'd like them to lean into the occasion a little bit more rather than it just being, oh, here's some specials we did with David Tennant and that's it. It's like this is
because reading comments, Adam, like Raymond's here in the live chat, a lifelong Doctor Who fan, says, I've got to admit, I'm not excited at all. That's never happened before, leading up to a major anniversary story. And obviously results may vary, but I suspect that there's probably a significant proportion of the actual fan base, certainly, who feel that way. And whilst the fan base is only a small proportion of the potential audience for this thing, Doctor Who fans are the show's biggest cheerleaders. We do a better job of promoting this show than the BBC do. Maybe Disney Plus will show us up in that respect. I'm assured by people who are really into Disney that they have got this massive marketing machine just on the starting grid now, and we're going to be blown away. but I can see where Raymond's got to with this, and I that does make me sad.
Well, also, I mean, you think,
and I'm an
I
optimist.
think
I'm the optimist here.
I think back to the 50th anniversary year, and at that point, to be honest, I was kind of, well, I was very, very much falling out of love with new Doctor Who. It was kind of gone for me. But even I was still excited for that 50th anniversary year, simply because it did feel like we were marking something, and there was a reason why we were here. Whereas this, as I say, it's almost like I get the feeling that a decision has been made behind the scenes to just really not push this 60th anniversary at all. They've made a token gesture, as I say, it's lip service by putting the 60 years on the logo. And that's it. I think they're quite happy with that. I don't get so Will, as much as I would like to think you're right, that suddenly we're all going to get, I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is it.
I don't, because Russell, obviously with the strike stuff, that is going to affect some of the promotion stuff. But as we've said, photos you don't need actors for. You can do plenty of other ways to promote your show without having to use your actors or producers or writers or whatever.
Yeah.
And Russell said, "Oh, the summer you're going to get loads." We got top. That's what he was saying in Doctor Who magazine and other places, and we got nothing.
I think that was the actors and writers strike, because I believe that they had intended on something for Comic-Con, and once that went out the water, we lost everything else. I think this has been a knock-on effect for them.
My point is, I get that, I completely get that, but there's other ways. This is a property. This is a massive property that you could have gone, okay, lads, we can't do that. What can we do instead? And that's what I think. I agree with Simon. The push and momentum seems to be non-existent.
Yeah.
That's what seems like it needs to have that feeling of a machine going in some way, the engine running somehow.
Yeah.
And it just this week.
Like hardly anything.
I mentioned this, I think, to you in a private chat, didn't I, Charlotte? This is something that the BBC are launching this week, #WhoSpy on social media. And they're promising that these, using this hashtag across all their social media platforms and sharing images like this. So this is obviously David Tennant filming. I think this is in Donna's family home there, that there are going to be lots of these pictures taken from behind the scenes that are going to give us little snapshots. And with that, they'll just all be shots like this, which are fine. Whether they'll all just be shots like this, or they'll build up to something spectacular as a reveal, I don't know. But I think this is it's all well and good, but I think this seems a little bit outdated and like more breadcrumbs. And
it's not. I think the show, and we've said this for Jodie's era at times, it needs to go big or go home. That sort of saying of it needs to be flashy, it needs to be big. It needs to sort of say, look at me, you're going to watch me. And we're not getting that. And little pictures like that is nice. And I've said this about the Instagram stuff last week, but they are bit parts. You need other things to go alongside little fun behind the scenes shots. That can't be your whole marketing, and that's what it feels like.
I agree with others who have said that. I don't feel anything at all. I will agree with that sentiment. I see the images and think, oh, that's nice. Another photo of David leaning out of the TARDIS. But I like Big Finish Productions and the audios, and when Big Finish announced something, I go, "Oh, great! I'm going to get that." You know, they did a thing recently of the Doctor meeting Jamie and elderly Jamie, and when I saw that picture come up, I was instantly interested. I'll have to get that. Whereas the television series stuff, it's not doing that to me, really.
Yeah,
we've had some lovely images, Adam, but you see what Will's saying, can't you?
Yeah, I can, and it makes me think because like at the heart of it for me, like, you know, if Doctor Who doesn't decide to promote itself very much, part of me is like, okay, like, you know, I'll still watch it when it comes on. I'll crack on with my day, etc. But I wouldn't want Doctor Who to fall into the sort of a similar trap that I think some big, as they call them now, legacy brands do, you know, things like Star Wars or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where because a lot of people, like you were saying, with Disney now involved in some way with money or whatever, and that there's been the talk of like potential spin-offs and stuff. I think oversaturation is one potential thing, like we've seen with, I personally, like I'm a big Star Wars fan. I love it. But
Me too.
ever since all these like things on Disney Plus, like I was into it at first, but like Ahsoka came out, and I loved Ahsoka in the Clone Wars. That was me growing up, and I felt nothing towards it because I feel so burned out with too much Star Wars, and same with Marvel.
Sheer volume of it, same with me. I liked a lot of those Star Wars shows to begin with, but there's a couple I haven't finished watching, and and even though I think Roxanne Dawson, isn't it, who plays Ahsoka, I think she looks striking in that role. I thought she was great when she was in the other one. When that premiered, I thought, I'll get around to it whenever, maybe. Why am I desensitized to that? It's bad enough that it's happened for Star Wars. The thought of it happening with Doctor Who, Simon, it's too much. It's too painful to bear.
It's funny though, because the more as time goes on, for me personally, I just find myself going back to the classic show more and more. That
the classic show is more alive than ever.
It's the one that just keeps on giving. For me, is the classic show, and things are happening within the classic show. Not only the Blu-rays that we've just talked about earlier, but things that just feel like they're happening. You're quite right, Dan. The classic show has never felt more alive than it does at the moment. So as much as I'm being shortchanged by the new show, I just feel more and more energized endlessly by the classic show. And I think it's also because such as people like yourself, Adam, who are coming on to as a newbie into the classic show, and yet you're falling in love with it as well, and that then energizes me to thinking, yeah, it really is that good. And so I'm just still absolutely loving the classic show more and more. Actually, truth be told.
Yeah, I think Doctor Who's in that unique position where the one thing I always worry about sometimes with the BBC more than the showrunners and the production team working on it is because I think they do it sometimes I think a lot of broadcasters do it with their brands that last a long time. They get into that position where they feel they can just coast off the name or coast off.
They get complacent.
They get complacent. I think Doctor Who has the edge in the sense that even that, because they say with long running shows, the problem with getting new people in is people think, oh, well, there's 50 bajillion series of this. I'll have to start, I'm not going to do that. Doctor Who's got that edge because, you can start at a certain era. I started with Eccleston. I didn't start from the very beginning, and that didn't impact my falling in love with the show. I think that's what gives Doctor Who the edge in not falling into that trap. But I'd really hope, like you were saying, if there has been like some sort of deal or talk done behind the scenes of them saying, we're not going to push this as much as you want to. I hope it's not from the place of, oh, it's Doctor Who. That'll pull in the number, that'll sell itself, sort of thing. It still needs that extra love and attention, which I think like Russell and the production team are giving it, and they're working on it and stuff. But sometimes I think the higher ups at the BBC either willingly or subconsciously take a bit of a back step when they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie Barrett adds, be patient, wait to see Disney's promotion. Once it gets close enough to be added to their coming soon on the Disney Plus platform, that is, it's their widget, isn't it? It's too early for that yet. So the world outside the UK doesn't really expect it this soon. There is a slight difference, isn't there, between that which we expect. I mean, at this time on the panel, all of us are from Britain. We often have international people on the panels, don't we? And they've had very different experiences with it. And I think Stephanie does raise a valid point there, because we're used to BBC One's way of doing things and how they really did treat it like the jewel in their crown, or at least one jewel in their crown for a long time. And I wouldn't say we were spoilt by that. That should always be the case. But I suppose we're kind of trapped in that bubble of expectation based on past experience. I think Stephanie's onto something there.
Well, I'm just going to respectfully disagree with Stephanie, simply because it goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is this is the 60th anniversary year. This year is never going to happen again.
You're quite right, mate.
Disney and the Ncuti deal, absolutely. You can start promoting that next year when you want to, but we're in the 60th anniversary year. It's got nothing to do with Disney, the 60th anniversary year.
You're absolutely right.
So there we go. Sorry, Stephanie. Good point, but I respectfully disagree.
Yeah, no, Stephanie, I get it as well. for Ncuti, I agree with Simon. Like, obviously, they're going to be a lot more involved. Then
100%.
it's going to be part of their streaming more. They're going to want to promote it more. Now is the time that I'm going to say it should be a British-led thing. It should be a BBC British-led thing. It's the 60th. It's Doctor Who.
It's our
It
show.
should be. We should be doing it. It shouldn't be up to Disney at this point.
One last question for you all. It's nearly been an entire year since the last episode of Doctor Who aired. That was The Power of the Doctor. It electrified mainstream audiences in the UK. Or at the very least, this final scene certainly did when it was put onto news broadcasts. And this clip in itself of the reappearance of David Tennant as a brand new incarnation of the Doctor, as the 14th Doctor, that got millions of views on YouTube, didn't it? I think more than anything associated with the show for a very long period of time. But it was nearly a year ago. That great big spurt of interest from the not we, we're now nearly a year on. I get the impression that they're kind of fed up with waiting. They may have even forgotten about this completely. Something needs to happen. So I'd like your best guess, Adam, because you are the man, aren't you, when it comes to TV scheduling? You do study the TV schedules quite a lot and ratings and all that kind of thing. So have you got a best guess on when we're going to get to see this? Are they going to keep us waiting until the actual anniversary, the 23rd, or could they build up through November? Where do you want to put your flag there in the calendar?
I do like my numbers, you very much. I think numbers were my first love. Yeah, I mean, like you say, we've known since after Power of the Doctor ended that the specials were coming in, well, or at least the first one will be coming in November. That was specified. Obviously, I think a lot of us would love to hope the first one would be on the 23rd, with that being the actual day.
Yeah.
That
the
falls
last
on a
one,
Thursday.
if there's a culmination, maybe that would be better for the final one.
Yeah.
Maybe it would. I've noticed about the schedules recently, though, is that more than ever, I think TV, especially on the terrestrial channels at the minute, they're trying to get their schedules to be as like regimented as possible, as like you know, once we've got, especially with like series or dramas, it's like if this is going out at 7 p.m. on a Thursday, that's when it's going out by hook or by crook, unless World War III starts, God forbid, or something like that. So will it be on the 23rd? Most of me thinks I don't think it will. I think there's a lot of people saying, will it go back to Saturday nights? I've heard people saying it's going to stick to Sundays for these specials. Looking at it, I'd like to plant my flag, as you said, Dan. I'd like to plant it. First one, maybe I'd like to plant it on Saturday, the 25th of November. And then we go into December, which means then we don't have a long gap before the Christmas special, which is meant to introduce Ncuti. So in terms of what we've been talking about, keeping the show in the public zeitgeist and keeping the attention, Ncuti Gatwa as well as an actor, particularly with, I'd say, I don't know what the demographic would be, like the 18 to maybe 30, 32 range.
Mm-hmm.
He's well known for Sex Education, now Barbie as well. And I think, like you said, with this moment of David Tennant being such a viral moment for the mainstream who are, reawakening to Doctor Who again, I think if Ncuti does appear in the last 60th special, that could be a similar moment again. People know it's coming, they're anticipating it. And then if you only have what would it be, like a just over 2 week gap before we actually get an episode, I think that would be a perfect amount of time where it's still fresh, it's still in the head, and it could get people hooked again.
God, that's a really interesting take and an idea, a transmission pattern that I'd never heard before. I think because most of us want to get something sooner rather than later. But I can absolutely see the logic in what you're saying. What do you think? What do you think, Charlotte? I mean, what do you think about Adam's suggestion there? And have you got a preference, or never mind your own sort of preference? What do you think is likely to happen?
I think there'll be some. I think one of the specials is going to land on the anniversary date. I think it's too much of an easy get. It's too much of an easy sort of thing for them to use.
And that's a Thursday, isn't it? The 23rd.
Yes. I think, yeah. But maybe, I'm not this clever when it comes to scheduling. No, I think if I was to guess which one, I like your idea of this last one, maybe. I like your idea of the last one. Because, like you said, that's the accommodation. That's the sort of, if we get like a big moment like we got in the day with all the I know it was clipped, but I love that moment with all the doctors. So that'd be lovely on the anniversary. And then you have got, I think they'll need to have a bit of a gap. I do think it would be foolish to go headlong straight into Ncuti. I think they'll need fans to have that bit of resting time to get excited again. So yeah, I would say maybe my guess would be the last one on the anniversary actual date, and then the others maybe like a week before and then a week before. I'm not, but that'd be my very rough guess.
You'd be happy for them to stagger them over across 3 weeks rather than across 3 nights.
Yeah, because I want time to actually. I think that'd be fun for fan discussion to actually have that time and to like mull over stuff.
Yeah, I certainly see what you mean. Matthew Pounder says most of us only watch the last 5 minutes of Power of the Doctor. He means for the regeneration. Well, yeah, we've been over that several times, haven't we? It's Simon Ashley says it's just a matter of patience. The advertising for new Doctor Who will ramp up soon. They want to make sure they don't step all over the promos for Doomsday, suggests Gary Akers. Gary, you need to get some therapy for every week he mentions Doomsday. I think he's really struggling with that.
Yeah, but that's because every week the BBC mentions Doomsday. Every day, in fact, the BBC mentions Doomsday.
Very, very true. 3-hour build-up, says Kip Ellis. 3-hour build-up, then 2 more picks showing our children in the We can
Very
dream.
good.
We can dream. Have you got any preference for this, though, Will? You know, are you happy to get it whenever you get it, or do you think there's something just feels right that if they were to be taking this seriously, then it has to be on X date or on X night? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a chance, there's a likelihood that they're going to show that one of the episodes on the anniversary date, and like you say, the last of the 3. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that was on the 23rd. Whether it's across 3 weeks leading up to it, I don't know. I was just thinking when you were talking about Torchwood Children of Earth, and they ran every episode consecutively for that, didn't they, across a week?
And that was a format that back in 2010, 2012,
it was a real event.
They used to do that a lot with drama, didn't they? The crime drama, they would do that to sustain a sort of and to get people talking, particularly in the winter. It did work for them, but I don't think anybody's done that for a little while now. I think it's sort of fallen out of fashion once binge watching and box sets on platforms sort of took over.
It doesn't bother me if they don't do that. I was just thinking if they wanted to make a real spectacle of it and make it an event thing,
it would get attention.
Yeah, and if there's any truth in them colorizing an unearthly child, would that be broadcast on the 23rd as well, or instead of? I was also thinking about, because I don't watch BBC One a great deal these days, but I've noticed that there are trails for Strictly Come Dancing. That's the focus. That's the big thing that's coming next. And I do wonder if once that's got off the ground, are we then going to start getting trails for Doctor Who?
We can certainly hope. I think people in the live chat are certainly 6 evenings, says Colin Archer. Saturday to Thursday. Well, they've only got 3 specials. I mean, there was talk about some mystery 4th special, but that's another fan theory. Have you heard that, Adam, that some fans believe there's actually a 4th special that they haven't told us anything about rather than just the 3?
Doctor Who fans inventing rumours. You surprised me. I never would have guessed. But
have you got any preferences with this, Simon, as regards broadcast pattern, or is it a case of I'm just all out of patience for this? Just bring it on.
To an extent, I'm not out of patience so much. I'm just disinterested. I'm really not interested at all. But if I was to place a bet, I would say it'll be across 3 nights. I don't think they'll spread it across 3 weeks. I think they will make an event of it. In the anniversary week, logically, I would do it on the Thursday night, episode 1 on the Thursday night, i.e. the 23rd, and then the Friday, and the final episode on the Saturday. That feels like a good night to screen the last episode would be the Saturday night. The problem with that is that almost certainly Children in Need will be on that Friday night, on Friday the 24th. That's when Children in Need would normally be. Yeah. So that kind of throws a spanner in my scheduling works.
Well, Children in Need does move around, doesn't it? Sometimes it's in the middle of November.
It does, but I'm just going to look in my diary. Is it possible that it could be in sort of the last? What's the last? No, that would be the 1st of December, so it ain't going to be that. could be the 17th of November. Logically, it would be the 24th of November. Difficult to say, but I would guess that they would do it across 3 nights. That would be my.
See, I was convinced they were going to stagger it across 3 weeks, find a night and leave it there for 3 weeks and get the maximum out of it that they could, because this is such a big show for them, and not much on TV is getting attention at the moment. We see about falling viewing figures and I think that the Doctor Who as well. My belief is that Doctor Who as a brand needs to catch people's attention. Kind of what you were saying there, Adam. I think you're sort of taking it from the other end that I am. I think it needs to capture people's attention and hold it for 3-4 weeks to take it somewhere, rather than to be here and gone in 72 hours. I think would be a mistake. But I think Simon stated a really good case there.
I think there's pros and cons to either strategy, like, you know, the 3 days in a row or spread across 3 weeks. There's the two-sided dagger, if you like, in either method. But I think the reason why I'm more leaning towards the staggering over 3 weeks for myself is partly from, like I said earlier, about the more seemingly like regimented approach that the BBC in particular, but the other broadcasters have been doing it as well, like the more regimented approach they're trying to take with their schedules as of late. And just because, and like you said, Charlotte, that whole fan discussion, that week's gap. I mean, I personally like that. I mean, it takes me back. I mean, I still do it now, but it takes me back to, you know, being in school, as I'm sure we all did at one point, where you watch the episode at the weekend, then you go into school, you chat about it with all your mates, you speculate, and then there's a real excitement to that. And I
I think also it'd be nice to have cliffhangers, to have that whole week of like a proper ending of the first special, to have this big cliffhanger, and then you see how he gets out of it next week.
So 2 corking cliffhangers that will get us, well, 3. We know the third one's going to be a regeneration, don't we? I would say, but maybe we don't. But 3 corking cliffhangers that really sort of get the nation talking again and provide more classic moments for this great classic TV series that's about to enter this all new era. Keep the comments coming about that. Let us know what you think. What's your preferred release pattern, transmission pattern for those 3 specials? What do you think is more likely? And by all means, hit us with the speculation too. Adam's absolutely right. There's nothing Doctor Who fans love more. Maybe list making's up there, but there's nothing Doctor Who fans love more than a bit of speculation.
The Cyber King approaches. Your lives are in peril. The only way to save yourselves? Watch Type 40.
And yes, that wraps it up for another edition of Type 40 Live, a special Type 40 Live here with you to kick off your week. What a show, and what great company to here in the console room. Adam Martin, you've been great company, and thanks for all your contributions and your insights there. For the people who haven't seen you, who may want to hear and see more, where can they find you? Where can you find out about Adam's world?
Oh, well, first and foremost, thank you so much, Dan, and all of you guys here for having me on. It's been a real pleasure being on this pod. As we know, Dan, it's been a long time coming.
We've been talking for a little while, haven't we?
We certainly have, and it's been an absolute joy. So thank you, first and foremost, very much for having me. If you want to learn a bit more about me, I am on YouTube. If you type in Adam Martin or Adam Martin AMTV, I should pop up. I make videos on all sorts, really, as Dan mentioned at the start. Doctor Who, now that's what I call music, television history, stuff that's happening in television now, just any sort of niche or fascination that I have. If I want to talk about it, I'll turn the camera on and do just that. So you can go and check me out there. If you like what you see, you can subscribe. If you'd like to hear me in the Doctor Who world, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it on a Doctor Who podcast. I was very, very fortunate to do some work with Big Finish a year or two ago now. I got to work with my very first Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, which was such a bucket list moment. I'd never stop smiling about it. But if you want, there it is. There's one of them.
It's not our first barbecue. We were going to mention this, yeah.
I was wondering if you had the photos in the folder ready.
Of course we do.
So I'm part of 2 box sets. That's the second one, Pioneers. I'm part of the Green Gift story, and the other box set is Shades of Fear. That's the first one I did. Part of Red Darkness. 2 fantastic scripts written by Roy Gill. Thank you, Lord Thoth, for putting my channel in there. Much appreciated.
Now I know where I saw you. I knew I'd seen your face somewhere. It's that cover.
Yeah, the hair gives it away, doesn't it?
Yeah,
the thing is about that particular picture. I don't know if I think I've mentioned this once before. On the other box set, I knew exactly where they got the picture from. It was one of my acting headshots. This picture, I have no idea what that picture is. Obviously it exists somewhere, but I've got
haven't AI'd you, have they, mate?
Oh, I don't know. But you know what? I think that looks pretty decent there, so I wouldn't be complaining. But yeah, it just made me laugh because I was like, I've got no idea where that image came from. But yes, if you'd like to hear me with Christopher Eccleston in Doctor Who, check out those box sets. Roy Gill did 2 fantastic scripts there, and the other stories are cracking too. So yeah, there we go.
He's a good writer.
He is. He's wonderful.
Great stuff. Well, thank you again for your company. AMAI, that's too much to bear. We like you just as you are, Adam. I hope we can tempt you back at some point in the future, but thank you again for your contributions tonight. And thank you for turning up there as well, Simon.
You're very, very welcome. My plans changed, and I'm sorry, so you got me. There you go.
Great to see you. And you've dressed, and yet, even though I didn't know he was coming, he's dressed to match the splat anyway behind. It's extraordinary. Some people have just got it, haven't they, Will? Will Hadcroft, obviously, writer and all-round Doctor Who fan. Great to have your company again on this one too. Thanks for being here, mate.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
And Charlotte Shields here too. Here to the very end with us on this one.
For once.
Always a pleasure, and still as beautifully ventilated as she was a couple of hours ago. Let us know what you think of all of that. Reach out to us through our social medias, Instagram and Twitter, at Type40 Doctor Who there. If you want to be really brave, you can come and find us too in the Type40 Facebook group with generations upon regenerations worth of Doctor Who fans. We're talking about the classic series, and I think counting down the days to that season 20 Blu-ray set that's going to be dropping onto the mat very soon. Will I hope they're not damaged in any way, but people want it. They want it now. We've got that going on. We've got people talking about new Doctor Who. Of course we have, about which new Doctors could be in those trilogy of specials that are coming there, and who isn't speculating about all new Doctor Who to come with Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson, for better or worse. Some people aren't as on board as others, but it's all fine by us. All opinions are valid over there in the Type40 Facebook group and here at Type40 Live generally. Thank you to everybody who's been dropping us comments there in the live chat on YouTube and Rumble and Facebook. It's been greatly appreciated. Oh yeah, lots of you. Oh, people are picking up these audios there. Oh, it's your other half's doing a bit of PR for you there. There's Rebecca. Thanks for joining us, Rebecca. Marvellous, absolutely marvellous. And yeah, that's it. More here next time. Please like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Check you're still subscribed, because YouTube can be a bit naughty like that, can't it? And hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications about what's going on here next and when. More live streams, extra videos, and those podcasts too. Another one, our big stage show one from Hooverville, Derby. Just when was it? Less than 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Oh my God, that's
just over a week ago. Yeah.
Oh, lots and lots more. We always have the time if you have the space here at Type40 Live. We'll see you on the next one in a few days' time. Good night, everybody.
Bye bye.
Good night.
Bye bye. Bye bye.